Hello, YouTube. This is Captain Omni. I'm coming at you with another fanfiction concept, and this one, as you can tell by the title, Fullmetal Army of Darkness. Now, I bet you're wondering what is going on. Basically, the whole idea is it is set in the Fullmetal Alchemist universe. However, things do end up taking a turn. Namely, essentially, what happens is Ed does not make the standard deal. Like Ed and Al do not end up facing truth when they try to bring back their mother. Oh, no. What happens is Ed finds the Necronomicon and kind of mistakes some of it for what you could call, because it's very similar to alchemy in the sense of a certain drawings and symbols, he ends up mistaking it for like an ancient lost form of alchemy. How did he find it? Well, it turns out Hohenheim actually knew of it and hid it in their house, like in the floorboards, so no one could find it. But sad to say, they ended up finding it. So basically what happens is Ed spends years trying to decode the Necronomicon from its ancient writings, and yeah, he ends up doing it. And this is like, he's told us to be a state alchemist, all of that, for this, because, like, this is what he's spending his time on, trying to bring back his and Al's mother. Because, obviously Ed doesn't believe in magic, or demons or anything, but he does, think this is some type of ancient alchemy. Well, so basically by the time they're 16, he does manage to do it. To finally decode enough of it to basically, so he starts the ritual. He says the words, and out come the Deadites. So him, Al, and Winry are there, and, suffice to say, Ed gets dead. Ed is dead. Ed ends up the first one possessed, and next up is Winry. So basically what we have is Al. Al, the sweet little lovable guy he is, ends up having to deal with the Deadites. And it's not just the Ed and Winry, though, he has to deal with. No, it's actually, he ends up having to deal with a horrible monstrosity that is what was intended to be their resurrected mother. There's a turn. Al is Alphonse Elric is pretty much ends up becoming the Ash Williams of this universe. You might be thinking, well, wouldn't it make more sense for Ed to end up being that? You would think, but keep in mind, Ash started out as kind of like, the calm, quiet guy. He's kind of nervous, jumpy, that kind of thing. Whereas over the course of, the movies, he ends up becoming, the Deadite slaying one-liner badass we all know. So, yeah, that's basically what this would be here. So he ends up escaping. And he actually ends up... doesn't end up escaping, and so he tries to destroy, after Al has to deal with that, he does try to destroy the book, but, as we all know, that's kind of hard to do, if not impossible. So, what he does is he tries to hide it, but, however, the homunculi father, really, ends up detecting, the Deadites' presence, because, they were around during the time of Xerxes, perhaps even, definitely even older than that. So he does end up detecting their presence. So he sends the homunculi to try to recover the book. Well, that ends up being a bit of a problem, mostly because the Deadites end up can actually influence the book. It can actually influence the homunculi in the sense of they can read it, and they get compelled to read it. The words get said again, and so Now, basically what happens is they can't necessarily possess the homunculi, because how I would have it here is because they're technically artificial beings, they can't really possess them necessarily, but they can definitely influence them. Like, they can definitely, like, pretty much make it like, yeah, you know what, you're working for us now. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. Of course, there is one they can. And as it turns out, it would actually be, I am kind of going with like a small bit of a thing here, in that I'm kind of blending the 2003 original anime concepts with some of the, like the actual FMA Brotherhood and manga stuff. So basically, Izumi Curtis's son is a homunculi here, but he wasn't working for the other ones. He does, however, end up getting possessed because, well, technically he's like, well, he might be a homunculi. He's an attempt to bring someone back. So, which is kind of like the only ones that Deadites can actually possess here, outside of, standard humans. And that ends up going horribly, horribly wrong. And essentially, and of course, Al loses the book and his hand during this. So he ends up getting an automail hand, which can turn into a chainsaw. Yeah. Yeah, which has a chainsaw function, because you all know that was coming. So yeah, what goes from and so again, slowly Al's kind of like getting a little more jaded, a little more cynical, and a little more smart mouthed. He's kind of letting his edge show like that. Because they are brothers. There would be some little bit of something from there. So basically, what follows is the book is lost after this encounter, and it ends up finding its way to possibly the worst person it could find its way to. That is Shao Tucker, who, yeah, we all know who that is, the life-sewing alchemist, and we all know what happened with his daughter and his wife and their dog. So yeah, imagine that guy with the Necronomicon. At this point, Al's pretty much doing odd jobs here. He hasn't become a state alchemist, but he does end up, they do end up bringing him in because, okay, clearly you have experience with this thing. What is it? How do we deal with this? Because this is not alchemy. What is this? Al's like, and of course, Roy's like, listen, I'm the leader of this. Roy comes in, he's like, listen, I'm in charge here, and Al's like, listen, pal, you ain't in charge of nothing but Jack and shit. And Jack left town. It's like, I guess, it's like, just really kind of like Al has basically gone slightly insane. He's not full on insane from what he's had to deal with, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, he is really, he's not quite right, because he had to chop up his brother, chop up their friend, and chop up their, mother, or what looked like their mother, so, yeah, he's not doing so hot mentally. Now, but, yeah, which, of course, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave it for there. I might come back to this, at some point, but, yeah, tell me, guys, what do you think of Fullmetal Army of Darkness, and, yeah, just, comment below, let me know, and this has been Captain Omni, signing off.